Welcome back, everyone. My name is Dejavudea, and today we're going to be talking about the lovely girls from the mobile role-playing game Magia Record. If you are totally unaware of what Magia Record is, I will link to my previous video where I talk all about that in a card here, as well as in the bottom bar. In this video, we will briefly discuss each girl's story, element, fighting style, as well as their wish, if it's not too spoilery. As a heads up, I will only be including original characters from Magia Record in this list. If your favorite is not listed in this video, be sure to give her a shout out and some love in the comments below. We will be starting with the main cast of Magia Record series, and then categorizing the girls by their type: fire, forest, aqua, light, or dark. This will be a long one, so sit back, relax, grab a snack, and let's talk about some Mahou Shoujo. We start off with the protagonist of our series, Iroha Tamaki. Iroha became a magical girl so she could cure her little sister Ui's illness. When Ui went missing, she came to Kamihama City to search for her. She is cheerful and earnest, but she pays too much attention to other people's needs. Her weapon is a crossbow, and her ability is healing. Next up, we have Yachio Nanami. Yachio has been battling witches in Kamihama City for 7 years. She's an expert on Kamihama City and magical girls. She works alone and doesn't associate with others. She documents all of Kamihama City's rumors. Her wish was to be a survivor. Her weapon is a halberd, a two-handed pull weapon, and her ability is to receive hope. Tsuruno Yui, a magical girl who is reckless and full of energy. She comes from a historic, honorable family, and she will always respect and admire her grandfather and great-grandfather who guided it to prosperity. On the other hand, in the present day where the Yui household has fallen into ruin, she struggles greatly to try to restore its name, and for that purpose, her aim is to become the strongest magical girl of all. Tsuruno's wish was to win the 800 million yen lottery, her weapons are her iron fans, and her ability is to bring good luck. Sana Futaba, a magical girl who is always thinking negative thoughts. Ostracized by her family and by the people around her, she never gained any real confidence in herself. But she is gentle to others, which leads her to submit to the will of those who can be confident in their own abilities, and she's always content to serve quietly and obediently at their side. Sana's wish was to disappear. Her weapon is a large shield, and her ability is to disappear along with all signs of her magic. Finally, from the main cast, we have Felicia Mitsuki, an energetic, unyielding, and unfettered magical girl. As she hates witches from the bottom of her heart and wants to get revenge for her parents, she lives as a mercenary, waging war against witches all over Kamihama. Her wild expressions during battle are influenced by shonen manga. However, she is gentle at heart and loves animals. Her wish was simply this to Kyubei: I want you to make it so that what just happened never happened. Her weapon is a giant hammer, and her ability is Oblivion. From this point in the video, we will be further categorizing the rest of the magical girls by type. So let's start with fire. Momoko Togame, a magical girl with an elder sister type disposition who is always looking out for the rookies. The middle child, Momoko was influenced by her two brothers' boyishness, but she loves cute girly things like stuffed animals. Because she loves cute things, she also is a fan of female idols. Momoko is someone you will meet at the beginning of your Magia Record story. Her wish was to have the courage to confess to the person she liked. She wields a giant machete. Toka Satomi, a magical girl who's trying to create a world without witchification. She is the daughter of the director of the Satomi Medical Center where she was hospitalized, and is a genius of science who studied astrophysics as a child. Her research is usually carried out while surrounded by many mysterious devices, and her dream is to know everything in the universe. Toka's wish is a spoiler, and her weapon is a parasol. Rika Ayano, a magical girl who is into the latest fashion and makeup. Rika appears to be a typical girly girl, but she's actually very seriously in love. She has been secretly admiring the same person for years. A genuine person, she gets along with everyone. Rika's wish was for the person she likes to fall in love with her, and her weapon is her compact mirror. Also, side note, we stand a gay magical girl. Ayame Mikuri, a magical girl raised in an orphanage. She was sent to the Azalea house after her parents abandoned her when she was barely a year old. She's simple and direct, and her wild spirit often gets her caught up in all kinds of trouble. Ayami's wish was for the orphanage she grew up in to exist indefinitely, and her weapon is a bow-like axe. Manaka Kurumi, a magical girl who is a great chef just like her father. Manaka's family runs a cozy old-school restaurant. Her cooking is second to none, and her irritating confidence is her only flaw. That said, she's just proud of her hard work and has no ill intentions. Her wish was for the chance to spread her restaurant's flavors. And her weapon is a frying pan. Ayumi Eri, a magical girl who lives for love and romance. Even though she's had the same crush for so long, she still gets too embarrassed to talk to him when she sees him. Her greatest secret? A notebook of fantasies where she tells him her feelings in a date night plan. Her wish was to know if her crush returned her feelings, and her weapon are her revolvers. Karen Misono, a self-styled magical girl born on Halloween who tries to interpret that conveniently. She has a hobby of reading and drawing manga, and was heavily influenced by her favorite, Kaito girl, magical Kirin. Her wish was to cure her grandmother's kleptomania, and her weapon is a scythe. Reira Ibuki, a magical girl living in an apartment complex in Kamihama's Shinsei ward. Cheerful and very gentle-hearted, she touches the hearts of everyone she comes in contact with. Drawn to her personality, lots of people and things in nature gather around her. On the other hand, she sometimes sacrifices herself for the sake of that harmony. Her wish is a slight spoiler, so I'll leave it out for now, and her weapon is a sai that can be transformed into a flaming sword. Ryo Midori, a gossip generation magical girl. She takes photos of everything and reports it regardless if it's good or bad. She collects material on school problems among the students, and because of this, everyone is both afraid of her and entertained by her. In fact, her photo hobby, today's kitty cat, seems to be the most popular among students. Her wish was to never miss a photo opportunity, and her weapon is a bazooka. Now let's move on to the Aqua, or water-type magical girls. Reina Minami, a magical girl who has trouble opening up to others. Read as tsundere. Reina acts cocky to make up for her lack of self-confidence, which leads people who don't know her well to misunderstanding her. She's a picky eater and loves sweets. She's also a big fan of idols. Her wish was to become someone else. Her weapon is a trident, and she also possesses the ability to transform into other people, including their voices. Akira Shinobu, a magical girl who looks, talks, and acts like a boy. She was raised and trained alongside the boys at her father's karate dojo. Akira is known as the troubleshooter of Saikyon because she can't say no to someone in need. Her wish was to save a bunch of people, and her weapon is her open finger gloves. Natsuki Utsuho, an enthusiastic supporter of everyone around her, there isn't a magical girl livelier than Natsuki. She's a huge fan of baseball, and as a cheerleader and the baseball team's manager, she's there for the team year-round. Her wish was curing her brother's illness so that he could play in the championship baseball game, and her weapon is a cheerleader baton. Mayui Chun, a kung fu master, Mayui belongs to the Blue Seas family. She left her parents in China and came to Japan alone. She is well composed, but she lets that all go when it's time to protect her family and townspeople. She is an excellent mahjong player. Her wish was to protect her gang, and her weapon is her Teko Kagi. Atsuka Tatsuki, an assistant naginata instructor at the Ryu Shinkan Dojo, and a magical girl. As the only child of the dojo master, she trains hard every single day. She's disciplined, but also absent-minded, and that absent-mindedness can get her into trouble. Her wish was for her cousin to become a police officer, and her weapon is the naginata, a traditional-style Japanese pool weapon. Nanaka Tokiwa, a magical girl from the head family of Kashin Ryu, a school of flower arranging started in the Edo period. Beautiful and impeccable, she appears to be innocent, but she's actually a wise strategist, able to read any situation she's put into with ease. Her wish was the power to accomplish her revenge at her own hand, and her weapon are 2 katanas. Konoha Shizumi, a magical girl raised in an orphanage. She came from an affluent family, but after her parents fell ill and died, she went to live at the Azalea House. A pro at everything she sets her mind to, except cooking, she helps keep the other orphans in line. Her wish is a bit of a spoiler, and her weapon is a double-bladed staff. Seika Kumi, With an introverted personality and social anxiety, she's a magical girl who can't express her feelings openly. Living in the same apartment complex as Reira Ibuki and Mito Aino, she is socially distant, with the exception of these two people. Seen as cold by most, the truth is she likes hot-blooded dramas and mangas. Her wish is a spoiler, and her weapon is her jeweled whip. Mayu Kozue, an alluringly beautiful magical girl who draws in the attention of men without realizing it. Her desire for a father figure, which gives her a habit of letting down her guard to older males, is most likely the reason. The influence of her late father led her to love art. She works part-time at an art gallery, with the goal of a job of art reparation. Her wish was to stop her boss's family from breaking apart, and her weapon is an oversized paintbrush. Next up, we have the forest-type magical girls. Hinano Miyako. She may look young, but Hinano is a seasoned magical girl. She has a mind for science and is president of the chemistry club. Although popular with the younger crowd, she is often made fun of for her childish stature. She strives to be more mature. Her wish was to save her life after an experiment went horribly wrong. And her weapon are chemical-filled test tubes and flasks. Kako Natsume. Kako is a bookworm and the only daughter of the family that runs Natsume Books, a used bookstore in Kamihama. Her mother is a Japanese teacher. Kako's a softie, never acting selfishly, but that doesn't mean she doesn't make herself completely clear when she has to. Her wish was to bring back her family's happiness, and her weapon is a spear, which tip is squared like a book. Konomi Haruna, a magical girl who loves flowers and works at a flower shop. Konomi is kind and works hard for the shop owner who she respects. She is a great worker, but can at times get distracted by her love of the flowers. She is talented at flower arrangement. Her wish was to cure the illness of the florist she works for, and her weapon is a giant pair of scissors. Kaede Akino. A worrywart, Kaede is easily scared. She is also kind, caring, and ready to take risks for her friends. She loves animals, plants, and insects, and nature in general. She enjoys gardening, and although she's not good at them, she likes UFO catchers. Her wish was that the construction on the apartments never started. Her weapon is a wooden cane. Alina Gray, a magical girl who's trying to create a world where no one has to become a witch. Alina is an artistic genius obsessed with life and death who pours herself into her work, dreaming of making a masterpiece featuring witches themselves. She's also used herself as a subject for her art when in a slump. Her wish was for an area where no one could disturb her, and her weapon is a light-constructed Rubik's Cube. Mito Aino, a carefree and innocent magical girl, always living a natural way of life. However, there are times where she can have a bit of a sharp tongue which surprises and annoys people, in contrast to her relaxed nature. Saika Kumi and Reira Ibuki are close childhood friends of hers that live in the same complex, and she cherishes them more than anything else. Her wish was for the power to connect hearts, and her weapon is a double-bladed bow and arrow. Meru Ana, a magical girl who determines every action of the day by telling fortunes every morning. When the result of her fortune-telling is positive, she has a very good time, but if it's bad, she'll lock herself in her room and won't even go out witch hunting. Because she likes to do fortune-telling seriously and hits it dead on, a ban on fortune-telling was issued among magical girls. Her wish was for her predictions to always be 100% true, and her weapon is a deck of tarot cards. Nemo Hiragi, a magical girl who's trying to create a world without witchification. She began writing stories in order to meet her desire for self-approval. After posting it on the internet, she came to be called a genius writer. But until now, no one has been able to get in touch with her. Her dream is to write a story that embodies the world. Her wish is a spoiler, and her weapon is her spellbook. Next up, we will discuss the light element magical girls. Sasara Minagi, a magical girl with a strong sense of justice. As a kid, Sasara was obsessed with a knight in a picture book and swore to become someone who could save people too. Taking after her rescue squad father, she'd rather save a life than kill an enemy. Her wish was to become a knight, and her weapon is her saber. Shizuku Hozumi, a magical girl who wanders about trying to find a place where she belongs. Unable to figure out what she likes, what she hopes to be, or even her own identity, she's always in a state of anxiety. Like the cafe her family runs, she is calm and quiet. Her wish was to see someone again. Vague on purpose. And her weapon are chakrams. Masara Kagami. An almost emotionless magical girl, Masara was born into a peaceful family and raised by two loving parents. Despite all the love she was given, she remains cold, living a life lacking excitement. Deep inside, though, she's thirsty for something more. Her wish was for money, and her weapon is a short sword. Hazuki Yusa. A magical girl raised in an orphanage. The Azalea House took her in after an accident on the family trip that claimed her parents. Despite her tragic childhood, her personality is bright and cheery, and she's talented at getting along with others. Her wish is a bit of a spoiler, and her weapon is two staffs, each with two axe-like blades on the same side. Kokoro Amane. A magical girl who always tries to put on a happy face. Her parents divorced when she was young, and she lived with her father ever since. Their relationship has become strained, leading her to become emotionally shut off. Her wish was for her mother to come back. And her weapon are pile-driving tonfas. Tsukasa Amane, one of the Amane twin sisters. Tsukasa hopes to liberate magical girls. Born into a family of traditional bamboo craftsmen, she runs the household to support her father and his apprentice. Though she is cheerful and has many friends, Tsukuyo is the only one she can open up to. Her wish was for her and her sister to never hate each other again, and her weapon is a flute. Kanagi Izumi, a magical girl who wants equality and peace. Unselfish and full of justice, her charisma attracts people to her appearance and the strength of her words. Since she must earn her living expenses in order to support her poor family, she's immersed every day in her multiple part-time jobs. Her wish was to know why everyone hated the academy she attends, and her weapon is a riding crop. Riko Chiaki. A younger sister to all magical girls, she's a magical girl with a sisterly presence. Every day she acts as the mascot of her home's bento shop, attracting customers and warming their hearts. While she may seem to be nothing more than an innocent elementary school student, she doesn't forget to have the concern for adults around her, and is an admirable go-getter. Her wish was for a girl that she knew to be able to marry a boy that she liked, and her weapon is a bento pick. And last, but most certainly not least, we have the Dark-type element magical girls. Emiri Kisaki. Emiri strives to be the cutest magical girl on Earth. She has a very distinct way of talking and likes to give everyone a special nickname. Extremely straightforward, Emiri is easygoing. Somehow, she can gain the trust of anyone at almost any time. She runs a trouble consultation office where she gives advice and tries to help people out. It also functions as a hangout for the local magical girls. Her weapon is her heart-shaped devil tail, and her wish is unknown. Kanoko Yayoi, a magical girl who wants to become a fashion designer. The only child of a family that runs a sheet metal plant, her parents' expectations that she will take over the business stress her out. Although she gets strange looks, she's always very serious. Her wish was that she wanted her parents to be able to work for 30 more years, and her weapon is a rapier, resembling a giant sewing needle. Ayaka Mariko, a magical girl who used to be dark and pessimistic, but is now bright and optimistic thanks to her wish. Unlike her old self, she has a positive attitude no matter what happens. However, beneath that smile, she sometimes feels guilty about her new, fake outlook on life. Her wish was to become a bright person just like her friend, and her weapon is a toy hammer. Ren Isuzu, a magical girl who has been shy since childhood. Feeling that life was painful, she blamed herself for her loneliness. It was her fellow magical girls that led her out of this despair. Though she's grown stronger mentally, she still has a timid side. Her wish was to continue living, and her weapon is a staff tipped with an angel wing that can also form into a scythe. Tsukuyo Amane, the other half to the Amane twin sisters. Tsukuyo hopes to liberate all magical girls. Constant training in music, calligraphy, and dance has granted her considerable skills. Though she is admired by her peers, she doesn't have any friends she feels she can open up to. She can only be at peace when she's with her sister, Tsukasa. Her wish was the same as her sister's, that she would never hate her sister ever again, and her weapon is also a flute. Ria Ami, a magical girl who shows up actively as a model. She's also the most beautiful girl in Kamihama City. She has an inexcusable personality if she's not the one standing out most, and will do anything to move forward. Although she acts confidently on her own, when looking from the side, something seems amiss. Her wish was to be turned into the most naturally beautiful girl, and her weapon is a bow and arrow. Mifuyu Azusa, a veteran magical girl who fought witches as Yacho's partner for 7 years. After realizing that her magical power was declining, to gain happiness as a woman, she became part of a particular organization that's a spoiler. Gentle-hearted but weak, she sometimes makes mistakes in her judgment. Her wish was to at least be free while she's dreaming, and her weapon is a chakram. Ikumi Makino. She's always painfully cute, a cutesy and childish magical girl. She usually works as a maid in a maid cafe, blasting her kyun-kyun beams straight from the heart. However, due to her old-fashioned sense of style, she has unintentionally established herself as a comical character. Her wish was that she wanted to keep her cafe running in a way that doesn't rely on property or land ownership. And her weapon is a broom. And finally, we have Ui Tamaki, a magical girl who's always lost in her own head about what she can do to be happy. She grew up without learning of the outside world, and is a newbie magical girl. Thus, she does her best in order not to lose those around her. She's good at finding the good points in everyone, and doesn't have any bad personality traits. She's the childhood friend of Tolka and Nemu, as well as Iroha's younger sister. Her wish is a spoiler, and her weapon is a kite. And that does it for most of the Girls of Magia record. I hope this video gave you guys a small glimpse into the world of this wonderful game. It's amazing, I love the characters, and I genuinely think everyone should give it a try. So let me know in the comments below who your favorite girl in this video was, or who your best girl already was before this. If you enjoyed this kind of video and would like to see more, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you over on Twitch, and I will see you next Monday. And until next time, I love you very much. Bye!